Week 2 is here in the NFL, and we have a good one this week with the Buffalo Bills going on the road to face the Miami Dolphins. I'm Jake with Sports Around the Bar. Without further ado, let's get right into it. So last week, both of these teams struggled against opponents that, in my opinion, probably aren't as good at teams as they are. I think Miami and Jacksonville was a lot closer of a matchup than Arizona should have been to the Buffalo Bills, but still, both teams had to have a second half comeback against a team that, in my opinion, shouldn't have been in the same kind of arena as they were. Maybe Jacksonville, I don't know. We'll wait and see where Jacksonville finishes the year out, but they're one of those teams that some weeks they show up, some weeks they don't. Regardless, both these teams should have done better in week 1, and like a lot of the NFL, struggled on offense at times. I think the most important stat between these two teams when you look at it are their passing stats, because the Buffalo Bills, even though they're technically ranked 9th in the NFL with 222 yards through the air after week 1, I think this matchup is going to be really difficult for them when you look at the receivers that they have. Now, the Dolphins only gave up 139 yards passing in week 1 to the Jags, who, at least on paper, look like they have a better receiving core than Buffalo does. Keon Coleman is going to have a ton on his plate this year as a rookie in Buffalo because the rest of their options just aren't that fantastic. Now, you can say it's going to be Marquez Valdez-Scantling who steps up, or you can say it's going to be Curtis Samuel, or you can say that maybe it'll be Khalil Shakir that winds up being that number one kind of option in Buffalo. But realistically, they just don't have any high-level proven talent on this team. I mean, we've seen Valdez-Scantling kind of bomb out on two different teams with two great quarterbacks in Aaron Rodgers and Patrick Mahomes. The real question is he going to be the guy that Josh Allen just unlocks the potential of and he becomes the number one wide receiver? I don't see it happening. And when you look at Miami and how they played on defense, I think that this is going to be the X factor. I don't think Buffalo is going to be able to run on them enough all game to be able to, neglect throwing the ball unless it's with Josh Allen's legs. And with him injuring his non-throwing hand, I really don't see that as an option. I don't think they're going to run him a ton if he really does have an injury because this season is 16 more weeks. Are you really going to go out and take your injured quarterback, your injured star quarterback that you're paying all that money to, and just run him into the ground? I don't know. He's a big guy. I know you have to utilize that as part of his game and utilize every weapon that he has. But when the injuries are already there, I think they're going to try to minimize the number of hits that Josh Allen's going to take this early in the season. And if they don't, they have coaching problems because that's what you should be doing. You should be trying to minimize the number of hits your injured star quarterback is going to be able to take. So I don't see them beating them with Josh Allen's legs. I don't see them running the ball all over Miami. That just leaves the passing game. And really, who's going to step up? I don't see an obvious answer. Is it Curtis Samuel? Is he finally going to get unlocked after his stints with the Panthers and his stint with Washington? I don't really see it. And Khalil Shakir, to me, is more of a role player than he is a true, number one target. So the only guy on my radar at all that has that potential is a guy like Keon Coleman that we just don't know that much about. And because he's a rookie, it's asking a ton of a guy who's brand new to the NFL, but it's what Buffalo needs. Now, when you flip the script, as long as Tyreek Hill doesn't get arrested, they should have what is arguably the best receiver in football going up against them on the other side. I think Miami is going to be impossible to keep off the scoreboard in some respect, and really just the onus is going to be on Buffalo. Are they going to be able to keep up with the Dolphins if they put 2 touchdowns on the board? I don't think so. Now, Miami does have some problems of their own with both of their running backs shaken up, with Raheem Mostert, who's guaranteed to be out at this point. They've already kind of confirmed that he isn't going to play with a chest injury, and then Devon Achane, who is a game-time decision. Missing that aspect of their game, I think, is going to be massive. If Buffalo can turn them one-dimensional, pin their ears back, and get after Tua, to me, Tua is a below-average quarterback that has great weapons. If you can keep him one-dimensional and take his running game away from him, maybe the Buffalo pass rush can be the difference maker here. Maybe you generate a turnover or two. Maybe they get a strip sack, or they're just constantly harassing Tua in the pocket. I could certainly see that happening, and maybe this keeps it a low-scoring affair. But if they're able to put a couple touchdowns up early, this game's over. Miami wins, hands down. I don't think Buffalo can keep up with the speed, and Buffalo can keep up with with multiple scores. I think this is going to have to be a low-scoring game if Buffalo is going to win it. That being said, I don't think they're able to do it. I think Miami wins this one, and I think they're going to win it relatively comfortably. I just don't know that Buffalo has the firepower to beat a team like Miami, at least at this point. I think it's going to be something akin to like 34-21. I think Buffalo stays in it. You know, there'll be a call here, a call there that kind of keeps them in the game, but I just don't see Buffalo keeping pace with a team like Miami that hopefully, with another week under their belt, kind of hits that offensive level that I think most people expect them to hit when they have receivers like Jalen Waddle and Tyreek Hill that have just so much speed, they're able to put up points. Ultimately, I just think it's too much for Buffalo to overcome, but that's why we play the game, because you never know what's going to happen. I thought they were in for it with Arizona. I picked Arizona to upset them last week, and I was almost right. I mean, they did have to come back on them, but still. I think week 2, we're going to get a better picture of who these teams are going to be going forward, because I think Buffalo has a lot of problems going forward, and outside of their injury situation with their running backs, I think Miami's in a much better position to win this division than Buffalo is, at least at the moment. So that'll be very interesting to watch. I think this is going to be one of the better games of the week. I love this matchup, and to get it this early I think is fantastic. Usually Thursday night games aren't of the same caliber as some other game, like, you know, your Monday night, your Saturday night games. So this is a great one to see on Thursday. It's interesting, especially this early in the season, that both of these teams, while healthy, are going to get to match up against each other, and I, for one, am looking forward to it. Who do you think is going to win? Let me know down in the comments what the score is going to be, too. You can't cheat on that part. Let me know whether you think this is going to be a high-scoring affair, whether you think that these teams are going to be able to keep it closer. And if you haven't yet, whether you're new or whether you've been around, hit subscribe, hit like, hit all the buttons down below on whatever platform you're on. It helps us out tremendously. I'm Jake with Sports Around the Bar. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll catch you guys next time.